All right, here we go. An island of strength. An island of strength is a small friendship circle of one or two or three people where when you're with them, they make you stronger. And in today's world, they can live in the same city as you. They can be across the country. They could be across the world. You can get on a Zoom with them, which is a lot like FaceTime. You can see each other on the computer. You can have a phone conversation with them. But by the end of this podcast, by the end of this particular episode, I'm hoping to inspire you and provoke you to begin to build that island. And if you already have an island similar to this, I want you to bring an element of transparency that maybe it's never had before. When we take the time to cultivate these friendships, we laugh a little louder, we smile a little bigger, and we live just a little bit better. However, transparency, as I've already kind of mentioned and alluded to this, transparency is the foundation of the island of strength, which is a challenge because many of us hold our cards so close to our vest that transparency, a true level of transparency, never has an opportunity to manifest. We don't want people to know our deepest insecurities, our biggest fears, our strongest struggles, maybe our biggest hopes, or even our weaknesses, or even dreams. Sometimes our dreams are so big we don't want to share it with anyone because they may think we're out of our mind and laugh. But when we begin to build transparent relationships, it turns into a place of safety and a place of strength. And these are all characteristics of the island that I'm challenging you to build. There are 6 advantages to bring in transparency to a circle of friends that we call an island of strength. Number 1, transparency takes away the pressure of perfection. It's hard work looking calm. My dad used to tell me this. He used to say, Frankie, it's hard work making things look easy. But it's hard work. Most often under the surface, things are going crazy. So we like to keep our biggest issues, our most stressful issues, a secret. But secrets in themselves are heavy burdens to bear. You know, I was in a group. I meet with a group of guys every other Tuesday. And I sat down with them just this past Tuesday, just a few days ago. And I sat down, and it's so cool because I've been coming to this same restaurant meeting with the same guys every other Tuesday for so long that the waitress knows that when I walk in, just bring me a double shot of espresso. So as soon as I sit down, she brings me a double shot of espresso, and she brings me a club soda with a lime. And for that reason, I have to tip her better for that because she just makes me feel really good by remembering what I like to drink. But nevertheless, I'm sitting down with these guys, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna tell you guys, for the last 48 hours, I have been so depressed, and I haven't even figured out why. And it was wild. The moment I said that, I could feel, I know this may be hard to imagine, but I could feel the levels of depression that I had been wrestling with for the last 48 hours begin to lift off my shoulders. And I hadn't even began to unpack what it was that I thought was bothering me. Just saying it began to peel away this pressure of perfection that I have a tendency to carry. Number 2, transparency gives you the opportunity to hear yourself process. There's a study that reveals that if psychologists will allow their client to talk without interruption, their patients will begin to discover the answers to their own problems as they listen to themselves process out loud. Isn't that amazing? Another benefit to hearing yourself process is our thoughts can anchor us to a negative state of mind, But if we catharsis with someone else, if we hear ourselves talk, we'll begin to admit to ourselves that some of these thoughts that we've been thinking are outlandish and crazy. We'll begin to start laughing at ourselves like, I can't believe I've been thinking this. Number 3, transparency helps us not be so image conscious. We are consumed with the perception of our own physical appearance. I recently read a study called the spotlight theory. The spotlight theory is when you think everyone is looking at you when you walk into the room. And you also think that when you are not with people, they are thinking about you. It's the belief that people are thinking about you just as much as you are thinking about you. And when you hear it out loud, it just sounds crazy. But the spotlight theory is something that almost everyone could raise their hand and say, okay, I think I was a part of that study because I'm guilty of that. But when we are transparent with our weaknesses, the burden of covering them up is released. Number 4, transparency encourages those we are talking to. See, everyone has an Achilles heel. Everyone has the side of the mountain that's still under construction. I was at a leadership conference one time, and the host of the conference, the reason why we were all there to learn from this guy. He opened up the floor for a question and answer, and somebody across the room, I don't even know who it was. I could barely see his face. There were so many people there. And he raised his hand. He said, yeah, I got a question. He said, all of us have an area of our life that's weak and it's discouraging. What area do you battle with? And everybody in the room just looked over like, this guy walks on water in our world. I wonder what he does battle with. And what was so crazy is that he looked at everybody and he smiled and he said, you know what? I got to be honest with you. I don't battle with anything. I don't really have any crutches or weaknesses. And everybody in the room, I didn't even have to take a poll. I could feel it. Everybody in the room was thinking to themselves, you are lying. I want my money back. I'm leaving. I'm out. If you're going to lie, I'm gone. And if you're not lying, then I feel weaker than I thought I was. And so the encouragement arrives when your confidant realizes that they are not the only one with a limp. And so you are encouraged when you can feel them be encouraged by what you're saying. You have to experience it to know what I'm talking about. Number 5, transparency begins to shift your weaknesses into strengths. The catharsis helps you coach yourself and gives your friend the opportunity to share from an outside perspective. There's a guy by the name of Carter Cast, professor of business management for the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. And he said this: people who have an inflated sense of skill level are 6 times more likely to derail their career than people who have an accurate assessment, says Cast. Blind spots happen because most of us have a hard time being objective about ourselves, says Cast. It's generally painful to recognize a weakness or accept that you'll never be strong in a particular area, he says. What we can do is try to teach minimal level of performance in the area so it doesn't impede our ability and hurt us. And then he lists off 5 common areas for blind spots in his book. He mentions these 5 common areas in his book, The Right and Wrong Stuff, How Brilliant Careers Are Made and Unmade. So here are the 5 common areas he listed. Number 1 is a me-first attitude that leads to poor listening to skills. A me-first attitude that leads to poor listening skills. And what's interesting is people who have poor listening skills don't know they have poor listening skills. Number 2, micromanaging others hinders your ability to build and lead a team. Number 3, being too comfortable with routines and resisting change. Number 4, having narrow perspectives on business that undermine your ability to be strategic. Number 5, not following through on promises due to poor organization or task management skills. Once again, the name of Carter Cast's book is The Right and Wrong Stuff: How Brilliant Careers Are Made and Unmade. Number 6, this is my last and final point. Transparency gives you the opportunity to do what you were born to do. One of the largest responsibilities you have is to invest into others. When you're transparent, the law of reciprocity kicks in and they begin to be transparent with you. You then have the opportunity to encourage, to inject courage. That's my working definition of encourage, to inject courage. But you then have the opportunity to encourage, to inject courage into someone who's been struggling, thus fulfilling a major part of your assignment here on earth. You'll never be fulfilled until you're both growing and giving. So in this context, you have found a consistent avenue to give. Before the end of the day today, here's my challenge. That number 6 point was my last and final point. But let me say this: before the end of the day today, this is my challenge. Reach out to someone and tell them that you would like to have an anchor appointment with them at least once every 2 weeks. You can't change the entire world, but you can build an island where lives are changed when they come onto that island. And what you'll find is anyone who you bring onto this island that you have built with an incredible amount of focus and intentionality and sacrifice, when people come onto your island, they will find they are laughing. They will find hope. They will find encouragement. They will find safe conversations that stay in the vault. And you guys will begin to share life tools. I love it when somebody recommends a book or a podcast that I can listen to. I hope that today's topic of building an island encouraged you. I'm going to sign off by saying everyone is going to spend eternity somewhere. So make sure you're ready.